Hello everyone and welcome back to CHH Hysteria. I'm your host Cole.
And I'm your co-host Cooper.
And today we are sitting here with an up-and-coming CHH artist, JJL. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Of course. So before we get too deep into this interview, do you want to start off by introducing yourself and why you make music?
Yeah, so I started, my name is JJL. I'm an artist from Minnesota. I've been making music for quite a while, but I started putting stuff out in 2016. Originally, it was just a form of expression since I've always loved music since an early age. But yeah, I started putting stuff out, started recording stuff, and then I slowly transitioned into the CHH space. I want to say around like 2020, 2019 or so. And here I am.
Yes, sir. So you dropped an album, I think last year, called Exit 44. And for the intro, you have two Naruto voice actors talking. So how did you get this to happen? And like, what's the story? Why did you put them on? All that stuff.
Yeah, so that's a crazy story, but essentially I've been an avid listener or an avid watcher of Naruto since like the earliest age. I can't even recall, but my two favorite animes were Dragon Ball and Naruto, but Naruto is definitely the one that impacted me the most. And so technically I can't get into certain details as to how I made the actual connection happen and everything go down. But it was all God. Like, that's all I can say. I mean, it was incredible. The two people involved did an incredible job, and it was honestly a dream come true to be able to say I have that, because as far as I'm aware, I don't know any artist both in CHH or out of CHH that's done something like this. Like, literally have two of, because people have to understand, like, Yuri Lowenthal, who voices Sasuke, he is literally voicing Spider-Man right now. In the Spider-Man video games. Like, he's in the Miles Morales games, and then Miley Flanagan, who voices Naruto, like, she's a legend. Like, she is a legend in the voice acting space. So to be able to say that I have that under my belt, like, that's just God. And I don't know how else to put it, man. But yeah, in terms of like the actual process, got to keep it under wraps.
Nice. So is the intro something that you wrote and you just gave to them, or did you kind of like write it with them?
I actually wrote it in 20 minutes.
Wow.
I basically so to try to keep as much detail off, like, once I found out that it was good to go, basically, I was like, what am I gonna say? What am I gonna do? And I just wrote something in my friend's basement. I asked him really quickly to put it from my notes on my phone to his Word doc, and he sent it over.
There you go.
But it was literally in 15 minutes, like right after I got the approval from, you know, the heads of everything.
Yeah.
That's how it went down.
So when recording Exit 44, when did you do this intro? Was it like one of the first things you did? Was it one of the last things you did?
It was definitely one of the middle songs, because I had an idea of how I was going to structure out the album, but I don't even recall what the first song from the album was that I recorded. It started off just as a concept, and then songs that I was making over a span of like 3 years just gradually became a part of the project based on my idea of the concept. And that idea just came through to me, where it was like, okay, I've always wanted to do this on something, and since I've got a structure, maybe now is like the best time than ever to actually do it. So it was literally in the middle of creating the album. It was not like something where I was like, this is step one. It was more of like, all right, as we've gone on this journey for the last 3 years, all right, now the opportunity is now.
That makes sense. So yeah, we're talking about your album Exit 44, which came out last year. So tell us a little bit about this album and like what the concept of the album is and what it means.
Yeah, so the concept of Exit 44, to give a little bit of context of the number 44, It started off as like a running joke between me and some of my best friends that I do music with. I want to give a quick shout out to Barely Trev. He was part of a collective that I used to be in called New Ground Music Group. Super dope artist. If you guys haven't heard of him, he just dropped some stuff with Paul Russell. Super dope guy, one of my best friends. And between me, him, and a couple of other guys, it was always this running joke that the number 44 was just this thing that would pop up all the time. It started getting creepy to the point where I was like, I gotta like see what's up with this. So I started marketing it just as part of my artistry. Um, but yeah, the number thing became super creepy. But I was just like, whatever. It's probably just cool to have it as a part of my artistry. Um, but it really just became a symbol for me of like God maybe is like giving me a sign about something that's to come, like when some big decision has to happen from my end, or like I have a feeling about something, whether it's good or bad, that number pops up a lot. So I've always wanted to continue on and like have that be a concept for my albums. And then the name Exit 44 came up, and I was like, okay, what does it mean? Like, where's this going? I started getting attached to the idea of duality, and I had this image that at first worried me, which wasn't, if you guys have seen the cover art, it's an image of a kid with a hoodie that's half white, half black, carrying a noose. And I was like, okay, like, where is this coming from? Is this coming from a bad place, or is this actually coming from God? And as I was contemplating the story, I was talking to a bunch of different people within the faith. I started to come up with a concept that made sense in my head, where it was like, there's this character that is essentially me, but represents all of us. And the noose essentially represents the darker side of humanity, aka the Judas side, because as we know, the way Judas died after he betrayed Jesus was he went and committed suicide in the desert. Now, the white side represents Peter. Peter obviously also had his issues. He denied Christ 3 times, but he ended up having a redemption arc. So essentially what the concept is I'm going through this journey where I'm dragging this noose that is just a metaphor for stuff that we go through, whether it's depression, anxiety, like whatever things that we carry. And we get to this point where we can either continue down the path and end up in the same desert that Judas was in, where he ended up committing suicide, or we can take Exit 44 and carry our metaphorical cross and take the Peter route. And that's essentially what the album is. It's just a small collection of songs with bits and pieces of myself that eventually lead me down to the path where it's I got to make a choice. It's either I take the redemption route, or I continue going down this path where I keep carrying these burdens and I don't actually give them to God. So that's pretty much what the concept of the album was.
Yeah, I really like that concept. That's a really good concept. And I make songs like, you have a song in there called Noose that it just kind of like puts it more into perspective, kind of what you're talking about in the album. So that's really cool and good to know. So recently, kind of going more towards your recent music, you just dropped a song called She Don't Like Anime featuring Not Clyde and Bats, which I really enjoyed that song. That's actually the first song I heard by you. So how did you link up with these two artists, and then how did you get, what was the story behind getting them on the song? Why did you choose them, all that?
Yeah, so I originally just made the song because in the midst of like a 2-hour session that I had by myself, I was just laying stuff down left and right. And that was actually the last song that I laid down. And I hated it at first. Like, I don't know why. I hated my verse. And out of the 4 songs that I recorded in that time period, I was like, yeah, this sucks. But then after I gave it like a day or two, I was like, nah, this is super hard. But when I think everybody can attest to this. Like, when you make something, sometimes you're like, how can I tap into this energy again? You know, like I'm sure you guys sometimes will like make videos and you're like, bro, like how are we gonna like continue on with this video when we're like we got to tap into that energy that happened that day where we were in a good mood, or like we were on a roll about the topics we were talking about. So I was like, all right, I have a verse. Do I want to get a chorus and a second verse, or like what am I gonna do? So I reached out to Bats because him and I have been building for a while now. We both started in the Patreon community that Ruslan has, and we've just been building. Like, it was a homie thing. Like, he just hopped on it. It was no big deal on his end. So yeah, that was pretty much it for that one. For Not Clyde, it was just a matter of like the right timing. I reached out and I was like, who am I gonna get on this chorus? I thought of like a bunch of different ideas, and then I was like, oh, this does sound kind of like something that Not Clyde would kill. So I reached out. We went back and forth a little bit, and then we ended up making it happen, and he killed it. So that's how the song came through, and that's really about it. Nothing too interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you did tell me that Bats, you had to pay Bats your soul to get the verse.
Yeah, I didn't really want to
He must
leak
have been
that.
lying.
That was personal info, bro. I had to sell him my soul. I had to give him like 90% of my royalties too. Yeah, it's not.
A small pack sacrifice to pay for a verse, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like once he blows up and gets like 1 million followers on the gram and he's the next Lecrae, I mean, it'll be worth it. I can say I got it. So man,
Yes. Count the cost, right?
leverage.
But yeah, so was Not Clyde, was that someone that you had known before? Just kind of
No.
followed each other, or?
No, it was literally just I've been bumping Not Clyde for a while, and I just reached out on a limb. Like that was pretty much it. It was a cold call, and it was just the right timing on my end and on his. That's pretty much as far as it went. It was just good timing.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it worked out the way it did because the song turned out really good, and I really enjoyed that one. So what artists have inspired and impacted the sound that you have now?
Ooh, a variety. So with my foundation, it's definitely a combination of three guys. And if you listen to my music, including the stuff that I personally listen to, my foundation has always been Eminem, 50 Cent, and Dr. Dre, and technically Scott Storch, because Scott Storch has been playing keys for Dr. Dre's beats 24/7, but it wasn't until recently that I found out that he was a part of a lot of his production. Those guys have set the foundation for a lot of stuff. Like even if you listen to some of Dre's early production, and some of his stuff from the mid 2000s, a lot of the guitars that are used and a lot of the keys, they sound like they definitely inspired a lot of the stuff that I put out now. Even though I don't rap like Eminem, like I took wordplay seriously because of him. And with 50, I've always been a huge fan of how he, to me, and I'm not saying he was the first artist to do this, but he's the first artist that I ever witnessed that had the whole package. I'm talking, wasn't the best singer, but he still sang well enough to where he could make a hit. Wasn't the best rapper, but there was a confidence and like like I don't know how to explain it, but there was just an authority that came with his voice and the way that he went on songs, and he had the image too. Like regardless of what anybody wants to say about if they agree or disagree about the stuff that he was talking about, you got to admit like that image sold, and it sold records. Like he was the whole package, and that's what I always admired about 50, and he just had that voice. So put those in a pot and you basically get me. Obviously there's been artists since then, like it's not like I've been listening to 50 and since I was a kid, like 24/7. Like there's been artists in between that I've listened to, like Russell, Joey Badass, like people like that. But yeah, those three guys are my main foundation, and anything in between has just been an addition to that foundation.
Nice, yeah. Those are three really solid artists to build upon. That's really cool.
So kind of continuing or piggybacking off of inspiration and passion. So clearly anime is something that you're passionate about, because like a lot of your songs cover it and talk about it. Obviously your most recent song, "She Don't Like Anime," it's in the title, it's in the art style. So what does anime mean to you? Like, how does it inspire you, type of deal?
The thing that I've always loved about anime is, well, first of all, I don't feel guilty watching cartoons because of it. But I don't know how to explain it, man, but like ever since I was a kid, I've always been in love with anime and the stories that I could take from it. From an early age, like it would present adult, like real life topics to me at a young age in a way that I could actually understand them. And as I've gotten older, I never outgrew it because I would always find anime that like still aligned with like stuff that I'm going through. So it's like, yeah, as a kid, like you're watching like Dragon Ball Z and like dudes beating each other up and stuff, but then you get older, you start exploring more stuff, and then you'll find animes about like kids dealing with like, I don't know, like depression, anxiety, kids dealing with suicidal thoughts, kids dealing with real life drama, whether it be like just everyday bills, like growing up, whatever. And it's all just in the form of a cartoon, which, yeah, I people are going to get mad that I say that, but yes, anime is a cartoon. It's just the storyline is just, it's different. I don't know how to explain it. There's just things that I've taken from anime that I haven't taken anywhere else. And growing up as the way that I did, it definitely gave me a lot of comfort. So whenever I'm down, I mean, there's definitely stuff that I look towards. Like I love Harry Potter. I love a whole list of things. Basketball, anime is the one thing that I go to, and I take something out of it, and I'm like, okay, I this is my pick me up. I can get back in the studio right now. Like whether
Mm.
it's just watching Naruto go through his trials and tribulations or whatever, maybe like that's the kind of stuff that pushes me to get back into the studio. Whereas the other stuff that I mentioned, like Harry Potter and basketball, I kind of use those more as like a healthy escapism, where it's like it's been a long day. I just want to turn on the basketball game and like just drift away from the day, and then I'll figure it out tomorrow. Anime is the thing where it's like, okay, yeah, like I feel better, but I also want to get back on my grind and I want to go do whatever I got to do.
Yeah, it inspires you,
Yeah.
Exactly.
motivates you. Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So then, one of your songs, "Anime and Ramen," has, in terms of streaming, has the most success in your discography, and it dropped in April of 2020. Originally, it's also in Exit 44, which came out in 2021. So, how did this success come, and what does this song mean to you now, 2 years later?
Ooh, that's a long one. So basically, when I made it, it was in the middle of, well, actually, it was like the beginning of quarantine. And I remember I did it just because of the vibe that I was in. And I was coming off of a period of my time where I had this rapper's rapper mentality, like almost like how do I explain it? I wanted to win so bad, and I wanted to be at the top of everything, and that I let my ego get in the way of a lot of things, and that made me have this mindset of like, I'm better than all of you. Like I should be at the top. Like I don't care if like so and so has more streams than me. And that's not a healthy place to be in, especially when you're in a space where it's like, yeah, like as creatives, we all want to have the most views, have the most streams, but at the end of the day, it's like this is a creative outlet. Like this is a space for us to be able to talk about what we want to talk about and create what we want to create, whether you're in video, whether you're in music, whatever it may be. And a little like I kid you not, shortly before I made that song, that's when I finally accepted like, okay, like if I'm going to do this, I have to let go of everything. Like stop talking about stuff that you are not actually about, or stop hiding who you are behind your music, and stop having this egotistical mindset. So during like I would consider it a beautiful day. It's nighttime. I'm chilling in my room. There's light rain outside. I just found the beat, started writing, made it in literally like 2 hours, slept on it, and I was like, oh dang, like this is a really fire song. Because I'm talking about stuff like, believe it or not, before Anime and Ramen, I didn't talk about a lot of like a lot of personal stuff. I would talk about relationships or like surface level stuff that I thought wouldn't get me teased about, like basketball,
Yeah.
but I would never get super deep into certain topics like anime, or like even the stuff that I've dealt with being an immigrant in America, like really things that expose me as a person and really show people like this is who I am. Anime and Ramen was that first step, and I loved that song so much and how naturally it came to me that I literally submitted it that same day. I barely mixed and mastered it. And then I submitted it. The next week it dropped. I recorded the whole video on my iPhone on some VHS app. My homie Jose, who shoots all my videos, he edited it really quickly. We dropped the video on the same day, and I thought nothing of it. I was just like, I did something for myself. That's how I thought about it. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not putting any promo behind this. I'm not doing anything. I'm not going crazy with like overthinking the stats. I love this song, and I just want it to be out there for the people. Fast forward, like I think not even like a month or two later, it just went on a scale that I couldn't believe. Because you gotta understand, like, yeah, I've seen like certain numbers and I've seen certain things, but this song was just another level. Like I had never seen a song hit 100K. I'd never seen a video get the attention that it got when I dropped the video for that song. Like it was just on a scale that, although it's not massive to like other artists, but to me, being someone that has been in the game at that point for like 2 3 years or so, and throwing things at the wall left and right, trying different things, and then having that song, ironically the song where I let go of like caring about stuff and caring about what people think of me, then it blows up into like a level that I've never seen. I'm like, bruh, like I didn't even do anything. The most I did was I ran like a couple of YouTube ads, but it wasn't even that big of a deal. Like because people run YouTube ads all the time and they'll get some views, but then they won't have any correlations with the likes or the comments. Like they'll get like 1,000 or 2,000 views, but then they'll only get like 12 likes or 5 comments or whatever. Everything was correlating, and I was like, yo, this is out of control. And seeing where it's at now 2 years later, I just look at it as a testament of this is what happens when you let go and you let God take the wheel. Because I can't hide the fact that I am who I am. You know, I like what I like. I've gone through things that I've gone through. And the less time we spend looking at who we should try to please, and we start looking at, okay, I'm going to look at the mirror. This is who God created me to be. I got to show everyone else this mirror. Then we'll see results when we start to make those choices.
Yeah, it's crazy how it happens. It's almost always when you let go and become content with where you're at and with Jesus is when things actually happen. Yeah. Almost always, like 102% of the time. Literally. Yeah, exactly. And not even just like in music or anything, just like in life, you know? Yeah. Most, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've definitely had to learn to understand that over the last couple of years, but it's definitely true. Once we let Jesus take the wheel, as many memes come out of that statement, it is true. Like let Jesus take the wheel, and you'll see results.
Yeah, for sure. It's an everyday thing, you know. It's not like, oh, I've done this, and it's done. It's like exactly. Every day,
yeah, exactly. So you talked about this a little bit, but the song "Stone" on Exit 44. It's a very emotional song. That's fantastic, but it also speaks a lot about your experiences with racism due to you being an immigrant. So what does that song mean to you?
So growing up, I definitely struggled with where I stood in terms of my race because, so to give a little context, I came here at the age of 6 years old. Unfortunately, due to certain circumstances, like I was legal for most of my life, but until the age of 16. But for a majority of my life, I had heard a lot of things, but nobody ever put 2 and 2 together with me because, I mean, if you look at me, I look white or I look like Middle Eastern or something like that. Like you would never guess unless you knew my name that I'm Mexican. So a lot of my friends would just assume, you know, I'm good, like I'm completely legal. So they would feel very comfortable saying certain things around me. And I would hear some really, really disgusting, nasty things come out of the mouths of friends that I'd grown up with, like gone to church with. But on the flip side, I had also witnessed a lot of shame towards my culture. And that was because, like, because of the way that I look, because of me growing up here and not being a little bit detached from the culture, I never felt fully accepted by my own race. So I was always in this weird, like, in between space. And then as I got older, I started to become more accepting of, okay, this is who I am. There's obviously context, like, but I'm part of 2 cultures, even though I'm technically born originally from Mexico. Like I'm part of 2 cultures and I can see both sides. But the reality is I've always felt like, and maybe I'm wrong in this analysis, but there's more demonization towards Mexicans when it comes to certain topics that I talk about, especially in faith. I mean, you guys have heard 4 a.m. by What Up RG. I saw y'all's video about the tier list. That was fire, by the way. Yeah. That was fire. But it's like, I feel like especially in the church, there's this weird, and I don't want to like I don't want to label anything or like make an assumption on anyone, but I feel like there's this instant assumption towards immigrants in certain groups because of the way that people have been conditioned to think, specifically within Christianity in America, to the point where we throw out context, we throw out even certain things that are clearly stated in the Bible. And I wanted to personify all the bad things that I had heard, all the arguments that I've heard towards my people, and kind of put them as a person that I'm talking to in that song Stone, and here, okay, these are your rebuttals, well, these are mine. And obviously I can't tackle everything in one short 2-minute song, but I said as much as I could up until I led to the chorus where I'm talking about, you know, don't worry about me. Like, I'm still messed up just like you are. Like, I may be arguing with you right now, but we're both messed up. So before you throw that first stone, just think about it. Like, are you really saying anything that's better than what I'm saying right now? Because we can argue back and forth, but really what we should be doing is loving each other the way that Jesus wanted us to love each other. So that was the point of the song, where it's like, it's mostly me arguing with this personified person, but at the end saying, "Yo, I'm arguing because I'm tired of staying quiet, but
Yeah.
let's keep in mind like we can keep arguing for more than 2 minutes in the song. Like we can take this to like eternity, but let's just drop this. I said what I said, and just accept the fact that like before you throw that first stone, like I'm just as bad as you and you're just as bad as me. So that was the intention of the song, is just to make an argument for from the immigrant side of things, especially in the faith, but to also make the statement that like at the end of the day, like the only one that really has the answer is Jesus. Like that's really the only solution to all this stuff.
Yeah, super good, super powerful song. Love it.
Yeah.
And like the whole concept, really good, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, appreciate it.
Yeah. You kind of talked about your collaboration. You collabed with Barely Trev, but you collab project with Cole Tyndall. So how did this relationship start, and how did you guys end up making a collab project with Pigpen? I think is how you pronounce it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again, shout out to Ruslan. People got to start giving Ruslan his flowers, bro. Like, he's really like been curating behind the scenes a lot of these artists. Like, people got to give him credit, because that's again like another person that I met through Ruslan. So I got to give him his flowers real quick before I get into that story. But yeah, it was essentially through the Patreon community. Ironically, though, before the Patreon community, I had found a video of Cole's where, and you guys can look this up after, but he did a video saying how to make a Jack Harlow song in like a certain amount of time, and he literally made a beat, and I was like, oh, this is fire. This kid's a great producer. Spits on it, and I'm like, yo, like, nah, this kid's something. And fast forward, I find out that he's in the Patreon community, and I'm like, oh, cool, we'll follow each other. But then I found out he's from Minnesota. And that's when I was like, no, these are insane dots. Like, this doesn't just happen. So I reached out. We listened to each other's music, and we started hanging out, just chopping it up. And we originally had just one collab, which was called On My Own. But from that point forward, we decided, okay, like, we're already hanging out a lot. Our homie Nick, who also goes by Pigpen, he plays the guitar for a lot of the collaborations that we've done. But we decided, okay, like we already have all these songs, we're all hanging out, so let's just create something out of this. And there's no real concept towards the project. It was just a collection of stuff that we made over the period of time that we were getting to know each other. Like literally, like every song from top to bottom is in the exact order that we made it, and it was just awesome creating that. I mean, we definitely had our growing pains, because we were getting to know each other, and we were trying to figure out, all right, what sounds good. Like, I'm this kind of artist, you're this kind of artist. Like, a lot of trial and error, but we didn't really have to cut too many songs out of the track list. Like, I think there's only 2 songs that didn't make it. But yeah, it was a super fun time making that. It was natural, and yeah, it was crazy how all these things landed as coincidences. That he just happened to live in Minnesota after all these little things talking to me about him, whether it was the Patreon community or the YouTube algorithm showing him to me. Like, it's just not, I don't think that's just a coincidence.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So I've been a fan of Cole Tyndall for a little bit. I like the song Midnight a lot. So whenever that came out, I don't remember. Was that last year? Sometime.
Yeah,
but so I actually listened to that project before I even knew who you were, and then so it's kind of cool how that comes to be. But yeah.
Yeah, we've definitely both crossed a lot of fan bases doing that project, which I didn't think was gonna happen. Because I mean, again, like we see each other as just up and coming artists doing our thing, but then we'll have people like tell us stuff like that all the time. It'll be interesting to hear all the time, whether it's someone from Cole's spectrum telling me, yo, I heard you because of this project, or someone from my spectrum talking to Cole and being like, yo, I heard Cole because of you. It's always fun hearing that, because we're just up and coming artists. Like, we don't really think about that kind of stuff, but then when we hear it, we're like, oh, I guess like it was smart to cross pollinate our
it worked out.
Yeah, so
I mean, plus you got good music from it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we got more, trust me. So
you've already put out an album, a collab project, and quite a few singles, or a decent amount of singles. So we've had a good size sample from you, but what can we expect in the future?
In the coming months?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I thought I was gonna retire after this last album.
Ooh.
Lies.
No, I'm actually not kidding. I feel like I'm always in constant battle about
Mm.
like the idea of it. I don't think that I ever will, unless like I have like kids and I'm like 50 or something like that. Which, I mean, I plan on having a family, but what I'm saying is I don't plan on quitting anytime soon. But there was a point in my life where I felt like I had given my all towards that album, and I was like, do I have anything left to give?
Mm.
And I've made the best songs that I feel like I've ever made up to this point within the last like 3 months, including She Don't Like Anime. And I have other stuff on the way. I don't have a project in mind, but I do have a lot of singles coming. If they all end up as like a short EP, I might do a short EP. But for the most part, I plan on just releasing singles. There's not going to be any crazy concept. I feel like I got a lot of that out of my system with Exit 44. It was a heavy project. It took a toll on me, and I think now I'm at a point where it's like, yeah, I just want to have fun. Like I just want to make fun records.
Yeah.
I want to collab with people. I wanna work with whoever I can and just put out fun stuff and be happy. That's it.
Yeah, that's a great way to grow, honestly, too. You know, you gave a lot to this like concept album, and now you can give some to like just fun singles and like kind of put it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and the amazing thing too is like I feel like with She Don't Like Anime, like I didn't really expect like the results that came from it. And I've met a lot of really dope artists. Like I'll talk about one song that I got coming up. I got one with Saya, and he's a super dope artist.
Yeah, I
I'm
love
so
Saya.
excited.
He's been on here before.
Yeah, Saya is amazing. So I mean, I've gotten to meet a lot of cool artists, and through that, I mean, even just collaborations. Like I'm excited to do that. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear what you have, who you're collabing with, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Cooper, I think, has one last question for you.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've watched any episodes, but or any interviews, but we like to end it off on like a kind of a dumber question, more lighthearted. So I just found this question online. I kind of reworded it because it was kind of worded badly. But so I found what is something that you did earlier in your life, like as a kid or teenager, or even like yesterday, that in the moment you didn't realize was really embarrassing, but like looking back, it was really embarrassing. If you
Gosh,
have
you're
any.
so put on the spot like that. Expose yourself, boy.
I'm gonna give you all the exclusive for the one time.
Oh.
The one time, all right? And this is just because I love this film, all right? Y'all watch No Way Home, right?
Yeah. Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all dig Spider-Man? All right, well,
Yeah.
your boy is a very avid Spider-Man fan.
Uh-oh.
I'm talking, I wore that costume as a kid in Mexico all the time. So there was one time where I was at this birthday party, and these two dudes come through. One of them is dressed as the Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, and it was a Spider-Man themed party. So all the kids, including the birthday boy, was dressed as Spider-Man. The Green Goblin literally snatches. Yes. The Green Goblin snatches the birthday boy. Birthday boy's crying and stuff. Like it's everyone understands what's going on. Like Spider-Man, like the real Spider-Man is supposed to come through and like have like a fake fight or whatever. I got this courage in me, bro.
Man.
I got this courage in me, so I literally, it's the most dramatic thing. Like if I had a mask, I would show you, but I was literally like, you could almost hear the bully. You could almost hear the Bully Maguire music playing in the background. I literally go up there and I'm punching him in the chest and this. And then my mom drags me away. She's like, "Yo, you're not Spider-Man. Get out of there." And the real Spider-Man came through. And at the time, I was just like, "Mom, I was handling the situation." But now that I look back at it, I'm like, "Yo, nah, that was."
Mom, I got this. Man, that's crazy. This dude was ready to beat up a grown man.
Looking back at it, I probably didn't do as much damage as I think I did, but
Oh, that's good, bro.
I do have one question for you guys, though.
All right.
Now go ahead.
So one thing that I do appreciate, especially like within CHH, like I mean, at the end of the day, I do this for God, regardless if it's CHH or not. But one thing that I still definitely have noticed is even though CHH isn't a great great space, it still feels like it's still in its early stages for some reason. Like I feel like outlets are still coming on the come up, like, you know, Fast Break, Rap Finds, but you guys have definitely done some incredible things, and you guys are taking long strides in a short amount of time. So
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
wondering,
you.
yeah, I'm giving you guys your flowers too. I'm wondering what is the obviously God has the final say, but what is your guys' vision if you were to look at the next 5 years? Where do you guys see yourselves, and what
Yeah,
impact do you want to make?
that's a cool question. But first of all, like you said, Fast Break, Rap Fine, CHH Talk, all those guys are super dope, and
Yeah.
we love all of them. So shout out to them too.
So,
But yeah, I mean, so the reason why we started this, like podcast, YouTube channel, whatever, is just because like Cooper and I, we grew up on CHH, and we just like talking about it all the time,
yeah.
and we like listening to like the like up and coming artists and like the, you know, just like talking about them and showing them to people. So we're just like, why don't we just like talk about it on camera and upload it for fun? You know, why not be like interview artists, because like that seems cool.
Yeah.
So pretty much like that's where we just kind of like want to continue doing that. You know, like we want, like as we grow, we want to just continue covering like all the artists, not just focus on like, you know, when we cover reach artists, we get more views, but like we like covering the small artists too, just because like that's what we listen to more.
Yeah.
You know, so like you like having A3 on was super cool, or like we have a 351 coming soon. So like all those guys, like that's what we listen to the most. So like that's we just want to talk about what we listen to. You know what I mean? And that's kind of our vision. We don't have like any big grand vision to like take over or something, but just kind of we just want to like talk about CHH pretty much, or just the artists we like listening to. That's kind of like what we do. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely needed because I know that because this is still like the space in general, like even though it's got a lush history, it's still definitely building itself up, like with the contribution of everybody. And spaces like everybody that we've mentioned, including you guys, like are needed because, yeah, obviously Reach Records being at the top, everybody gets more attention when they're spoken of. Awesome dudes, but there's also the next generation coming up and the generation before that.
Oh,
And
for
it's
sure.
like, where are the outlets for that? And seeing that all of these people, like, including you guys, are on the come up, like, it's honestly a blessing. And I think I speak for everybody when I say that you guys are doing an amazing job.
Thank you,
And
bro.
I'm excited to keep finding out about more and more artists through you guys.
For sure. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. It means a lot. And also thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Super fun. You're always welcome back. Be sure to check out his music. Follow him on Spotify, Apple Music. I don't know if you can follow on Apple Music, but save his music. Listen to She Don't Like Anime, Exit 44, all that stuff.
Yes.
And until next time.